All right, welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive? Today, we're tackling something a lot of you have been asking about. Those tricky English verbs that sometimes, well, even we native speakers can get a little confused about.
Oh, absolutely.
And to help us sort it all out, we're going to be taking a close look at a popular YouTube video by English with Lucy called 12 Commonly Confused English Verbs. Ready to untangle these word pairs once and for all.
Let's do it.
Perfect. So let's just jump right in with one of those pairs that seems so basic, but can be a real headache. I'm talking about get versus go.
Yeah, those two little words can cause a lot of trouble.
They sure can. I mean, they both have to do with movement and change.
Right. But the key is in the nuance. You see, get often emphasizes the end result or the arrival at a state.
So like when Lucy said, when I get to Edinburgh, you're focused on being in Edinburgh, not the actual journey.
Exactly. It's about reaching that destination. Whereas go, well, go puts the emphasis on the process, the journey itself.
So like I usually go to Edinburgh by train. It's more about the action, the how you get there.
You got it. And this idea carries over to other situations beyond just physical travel. Like, think about get when it's paired with adjectives. We say things like get old or get tired. It's about becoming something.
Oh, I see. So you're highlighting that change of state again. But what about go? Does go ever work like that?
Actually, it does, and it's really interesting. Go tends to be used with specific color changes, and often, well, negative ones. We say the milk went bad or the leaves went brown.
Oh, yeah. And Lucy even made a joke about someone going bald. You wouldn't say he got bald, would you?
Right, it's he went bald. Definitely a pattern there.
There is. Okay. So let's move on to another pair that always messed me up. I'm talking about notice versus realize. And Lucy's example about the cracked vase. That really clarifies it, I think.
It's a perfect illustration because it highlights that notice is about what we perceive with our senses. You see something or you hear it, you smell it, and you become aware of it.
So it's that initial sensory input.
Right. But realize, well, that involves a mental step. It's about understanding the significance of what you've noticed, making a connection.
So you might notice a change in someone's tone, but not realize they're upset until later. It's like notice is passive and realize is active.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. It's the difference between simply perceiving something and actually processing and understanding what it means.
Got it. Okay, so how about we tackle one that I hear misused all the time, even by, native speakers, rob versus steal.
Oh, yeah. This pair trips a lot of people up. But the key difference lies in who or what is the target of the action. So you rob a person or a place, but you steal a thing.
Okay, so they robbed the bank, but they stole the money from the bank.
You got it. A lot of people mistakenly say, they stole me my wallet. But the correct way to say it is they stole my wallet from me. And Lucy pointed out another interesting thing. She said that for houses, we often use the verb burgle to be more specific.
Oh, that's right, she did. Burgle a house. Okay, ready for the next one. Win and beat. This one always reminds me of how learners mix up their prepositions.
Oh, definitely. And Lucy had a good point about that. The pattern is you win against an opponent, or you win by a certain margin.
So Team A won against Team B, or they won by 5 points.
Exactly. But beat is used to connect the winner directly to the loser. So Team A beat Team B. No preposition there.
And of course, Lucy had to throw in that fun fact about using nil instead of 0 in football scores. So it's 5-0, not 5-0.
Right. Gotta love those little quirks of English, right? Okay, brace yourself. Are you ready for the ultimate challenge?
Oh, bring it on. You mean affect versus affect? Yeah, I've even gotten those confused myself a time or two.
They're infamous for a reason. So let's break it down. Affect is primarily used as a verb, and it means to influence something, to have an impact on it.
Like stress can affect your sleep.
Exactly. But affect, well, that's usually a noun, and it refers to the result of that influence.
So the effect of the new law was an increase in voter turnout. But wait a minute. Didn't Lucy say that affect can sometimes be a verb too?
She did. And it's less common, but to affect means to bring something about. It's often used in more formal contexts, like to affect change.
Oh, okay. So it's more about causing something to happen. This is getting interesting. All right, let's finish up this first batch of verbs with wake versus wake up. Lucy mentioned they're often interchangeable, but there are some subtle differences there, right?
Yeah. You see, wake on its own sounds more formal, while wake up can also imply becoming more alert, more energized. Lucy used the example of fresh air helping someone wake up.
Right. And if you're trying to get someone's attention, you might shout, "Wake up." You wouldn't just yell, "Wait." It just doesn't have the same, urgency.
It doesn't. So yeah, it really comes down to choosing the verb that best captures the specific nuance you want to express. These little distinctions can add so much depth and clarity to how we communicate.
They really can. And I have to say, we've only covered the first 6 pairs from Lucy's video, and I'm already feeling more confident about using them correctly. How about you?
Me too. But remember, we're just getting started with our deep dive. We'll be back in part 2 to tackle the remaining verb pairs and explore even more nuances of these fascinating words.
Can't wait.
See you then.
Welcome back to our deep dive into tricky English verbs. Ready to tackle those remaining pairs from Lucy's video, 12 commonly confused English verbs.
Let's do it. What do you say we start with borrow versus lend?
Oh, man, those two. I swear I hear them mixed up all the time.
They do sound very similar, but the good news is there's a really simple way to remember which is which. You just got to think about the direction, like where's the thing going?
Okay, so you borrow from someone and you lend to someone, right?
Exactly. So if you want to use my pen, you would ask, can I borrow your pen?
And if I wanted to offer you my pen, I'd say, "Hey, would you like to borrow my pen?" Or would it be lend? I always get those two mixed up.
Lend. You'd say lend, like would you like me to lend you my pen?
Lend you my pen. Okay, I think I'm starting to get it.
It's all about perspective.
Oh.
Who's giving and who's receiving. And, this whole borrowing and lending thing, it's not just about physical stuff. We borrow ideas, concepts, even phrases from each other all the time.
Oh, that's a good point, like borrowing a metaphor.
Exactly. Okay, ready for the next pair? How about hear versus listen?
Ooh, yeah, those two. I remember learning about those back in, elementary school. Hearing is passive and listening is active, but I'm not sure I could explain the difference now.
I can help with that. Think of it this way. Hear simply means like your ears are picking up sound waves. It can happen without you even trying.
So, I can hear the traffic outside even though I'm not, focusing on it.
Exactly. But listening, that means you're making a conscious effort to pay attention to what you're hearing.
So when I'm really trying to understand what you're saying, that's
You
listening.
got it. It's about engaging with the sound and trying to get meaning from it.
Okay, I think I can remember that.
Good. All right, let's keep this going. What about look and see?
Those two seem pretty close too.
They do. They both involve our eyes, right?
Right.
But look implies more of a deliberate action. You're directing your gaze at something specific.
So if I'm trying to find my keys, I'm looking for my keys.
Exactly. You're actively searching, using your eyes with a purpose. But with see, it's more about what just happens to come into your field of vision, whether you're looking for it or not.
Oh, okay. So if I'm walking down the street and I happen to see a hot dog stand.
Perfect example. You weren't looking for it, but you saw it.
This is actually kind of blowing my mind a little. All these little words we use every day without even thinking about it.
I know, right? Language is full of these subtle distinctions. Okay, are you ready for our final pair? This one might be the trickiest of them all, even for native speakers.
Uh-oh, hit me with it. What is it?
Say versus tell.
I know I've messed those up before. A lot.
The secret to keeping them straight is the indirect object. Tell always needs an indirect object. You tell someone something.
So tell me a story or tell your friend the secret.
Exactly. You're directing the information to someone specific. Now, with say, you don't always need that indirect object. You can just say something, period.
Okay, so he said he was feeling tired.
Perfect. No specific person receiving that information. And tell often has that added sense of giving instructions or information, like tell him to meet us at the park.
So tell is more about specific message, and say is just expressing something.
That's a good way to put it.
Wow. I never realized how much thought goes into these simple verbs.
Me neither.
Okay, so we just explored all 12 commonly confused verb pairs from Lucy's video. What a journey.
It was.
I feel like I've learned so much about how the words we choose really reflect, how we see the world.
Absolutely. And remember, learning about language, it's not about reaching some finish line. It's a process, an ongoing exploration. But before we wrap up this deep dive completely, how about a little fun? A quiz to test our new knowledge.
A quiz. Ooh, I love quizzes. I'm in.
Okay, are you ready for our verb quiz? Lucy gave us 5 sentences to complete, and I'm going to read them out, and you, dear listeners, can play along at home.
Sounds fun.
Feel free to pause and really test yourself before we give you the answers. Okay, here we go. Sentence number 1. It's starting to light earlier now that spring is coming. So would you use get or go to complete that sentence?
It's talking about a change of state, like becoming lighter. So I'm going to go with get. It's starting to get light earlier now that spring is coming.
That's right. Get is all about that final state, right? Okay, number 2. If I'm feeling tired, splashing cold water on my face helps to me. Would you use wake or wake up there?
Well, I think it's emphasizing the action of becoming more alert, so I would say wake me up. You got it. Splashing water helps to wake you up, not just like passively wake you. Okay, sentence number 3. Someone tried to my camera when I was on the train. Rob or steal?
Okay, well, they were trying to take the camera, right? The actual object. And we know we steal a thing, so it has to be steal. Someone tried to steal my camera when I was on the train.
Exactly. You're on a roll. All right, number 4. When I went outside this afternoon, the daffodils were in bloom. Would you use noticed or realized?
I think this one's just about seeing the daffodils without, like, any deeper meaning or thought. So I'm going to say noticed.
That's right. Noticed is that immediate sensory input. Okay, last one, and this one has 2 blanks for us to fill in. The new government immediately economic changes, which positively the job market. So where would you put affect and effect?
Oh, this is a tough one. Okay, let me think. I remember that effect as a verb means to cause something to happen. So I think it goes in the first blank. The new government immediately affected economic changes. And then those changes influenced the job market. So, which positively affected the job market.
Wow, you aced it. 5 for 5. You really have mastered these tricky verbs.
Thanks. It was fun.
And I hope all of you at home had fun playing along too. Even if you didn't get every answer right, I bet you're thinking about these verbs in a whole new way. And that's really the point, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's not about, like, memorizing a bunch of rules. It's about understanding the nuances of language and how to use them to express yourself more clearly. Yeah.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive into commonly confused English verbs, is there one key takeaway you would want our listeners to remember?
I think the biggest thing to remember is that language is constantly evolving. And even these small, everyday words, they can have such a surprising depth of meaning. So just pay attention to those subtle distinctions and don't be afraid to experiment, you know.
That is such great advice. The more we explore the nuances of language, the better we can communicate and connect with each other.
And who knows? Maybe this deep dive has sparked some new questions for you. Like, what other subtle meanings can you find in the verbs you use every day? And how do they shape the way you see the world? Keep those language detective hats on.
I love that image. Keep exploring, everyone, and we'll see you on our next deep dive.